All right. All right, everyone, we will go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome Will Zalatoris to the Media Center here at the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. Will, making your fourth start here at Bay Hill this week, finished runner-up at the Genesis Invitational in your last start, which helped get you into this event through the Aon Next 10. Just a couple of thoughts on being able to play your way in and getting your season off on a pretty good start here.
Yeah, I'd say so far the body feels ahead of schedule. I'm slowly seeing speed come back. Riviera is a place that I absolutely love, so it was nice to get a good week under my belt, especially that early on in the season. But this event means a lot to me, obviously being on the Arnold Palmer Scholarship at Wake Forest, and this is a pretty tough venue in general, and normally it's green on Thursday and brown by Sunday, and it only gets harder and harder as the week goes on. So, I'm looking forward to the test.
And having 3 years under your belt here, just what is it about this golf course? Finished top 10 in 2021. Just what are some of the things that you're focused on while you're out there?
Yeah, it's just hard. I mean, it just gets harder as the week goes on. It's borderline by Sunday. It's major championship toughness. Just get out of there with pars and be happy. Even if you make a couple bogeys, they're not going to kill you, but doubles are going to kill you by the weekend.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, we'll open up for questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand. We'll get a microphone over to you. Start over here, and then we'll go up here.
Zach Maskovich, West 2 here in Orlando. You kind of touched on it there, but I know you have a connection with Arnold Palmer, having both been Wake Forest guys and you getting that scholarship. What does that connection mean to you to be tied with him and then play in his tournament here?
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people that when I got offered the Arnold Palmer Scholarship to go to Wake Forest, that my decision was kind of made for me at that point. I had a pretty fun dinner on Sunday with Amy Saunders and Peter Jacobson and Jerry Pate, and it was just fun reminiscing and hearing some of the stories from those guys. They're reminiscing. I unfortunately never got to meet them. I got a signed letter from them once I accepted his scholarship, but just hearing some of the stories about how he carried himself, and obviously with everything that's gone on in the golf climate, there's a lot of discussion about that, and it's kind of a guy that I feel like I've heard stories about him since over the last 10 years since I've taken his scholarship, but there's still stories that I've never heard, and we're still laughing.
What does this tournament mean to you, having that connection, but being able to play in the Kings tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's a beast of a golf course, for one, and we always joke about how the week gets harder and harder, and we always kind of by Sunday, everyone's always kind of joking about how Arnie's smiling from heaven, watching the carnage. So, but yeah, it means a lot to me. Even though I never got to meet him, the guys meant a lot to me personally in my career, and led me to Wake Forest. And, like I said, even though it's been a lot of guys meant a lot to my career. I mean, I met my wife at Wake Forest, and so it's just kind of a fun week to come here and spend some time with Amy and the family.
All right, let's go over here to Shed.
Good morning, Will.
Morning.
When you said you were ahead of schedule with your, I guess, the physical aspect of your comeback, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think in terms of how I'm able to practice and be able to recover faster, I came in with really no expectations this year in terms of my body, and because I had never gone through an eight-month recovery, but I knew that I felt better. I just didn't want to jump the gun and say, take the reins off and, get back to my old ways of practice. But, my speed is slowly coming back. I kind of, the analogy that I've used is that I keep thinking that my speed is back to 100%, but then all of a sudden it keeps creeping up a little bit more and more and more. So it's so far so good. The changes feel great. I haven't had any flare-ups or anything like that. So I feel awesome.
What do you do, say after a practice session or a round of golf, that you wouldn't have done in the past? What's different about recovery or exercise or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's The post-round stuff, I've been working with the guys over at Kinetic Chain in Dallas, and they're pretty much sending, whether it's Landon or, Spencer or Austin, they're coming every week, and we're doing dry needling, which is a new thing for me during the weeks. That's really helped a lot. I really think that that's part of the reason why I feel ahead of schedule. Constant ice baths, a lot of Eldoa, which is a stretching protocol that I've been doing. In general, I think it's kind of like instead of sitting, after a day's over and maybe having an ice bath and doing a few stretches, now it's actually more of like, let's actually try to feel better for tomorrow.
Okay, good talk.
Hey, well, let's want to talk some numbers with you. There have been 9 PGA Tour events this year. Of the 9 winners, I'm going to take Nick Dunlap out because he was outside the top 4,000 in the world ranking. But of the other 8 winners, the average world ranking of that winner is 73. What does that say about where competition is at the PGA Tour right now?
Yeah, the competition is obviously very stiff. There's no question about it. We've had quite a few first-time winners on tour this year. You've got some tenured guys that are contending week in, week out. The official World Golf ranking is what it is right now. But I also think that the competition that we have is pretty stiff. It's really good to see guys like Nick especially come up, and it just shows you the golf climate that we're in with kids in college coming up and playing that great. I think that when you look at over the last few years and seeing the first-time winners and playing as well as they have, I think that's something that I'm more excited about, because on any given week you can see someone just pop off a win.
I want to follow up on what you hinted at in regards to the world golf rankings. Mm-hmm. How viable is that measurement?
It kind of is what it is. You see what Joaquin's done this year, and he's 73rd in the world. I'm not a guy who's on the policy board or involved with those rankings, but the guy's played some really good golf. And I think, having to get a special exemption from Augusta, it's just, there's some really good players, and there's some guys that have gone around the world and played really good golf. And I think that's something that once we get to the majors will be really fun to have us all back together. But I know that that's kind of the utopian goal for all of us right now, is to have the best players in the world play week in, week out. And I love this week in general because we've got the best players on the PGA Tour, and we've got guys that obviously really care about it. But I also think, we'll see what happens going forward. I don't have a fix for it. I know some guys have voiced their opinions on it. I like staying out of that stuff, but it's right now it's in an interesting position. I'll leave it at that.
All right. Any other questions for Will? Oh, Rex. Yep.
I know the signature events are still kind of new, but did they feel different to you at all?
Yeah, definitely. 70 guys in the field. It feels like, I came out yesterday to practice for a couple hours, and it feels like no one's here. Just in terms of, you're used to having the 120, 130, whatever it is, and, so it's bizarre, actually, a little bit on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but then once you get to Thursday, it's just so ultra competitive, and I love that feeling of it. But having 50 less guys, there's no question about it. That's a different feel for sure, especially when these events that I've played for the last 3-4 years, you're used to having a pretty large amount of players. But I've enjoyed it so far. I've only played in one, but it's kind of fun when you walk up and everybody you see is pretty much a top player.
Does it feel bigger? I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but how would you characterize it, I guess?
It doesn't feel bigger. I think wish I could give you a better answer than just different. You know, you look at the 70 guys in the field, you probably could list off, you know, off the top of your head, if you were to just take a regular golf in, they could probably guess 65 out of the 70. And if you had the 120, they'd probably still get 65 out of the 120. But that's just, it is what it is. So it's a different feel. Like, you know, I'm going to go play the back nine here in a little bit, and normally we're not allowed to play the back nine after, you know, 8:30, but there's only 70 guys this week, so, you know.
Good. All right, Will, thanks for the time. Best of luck this week.
Yeah.